Dear students, Namaste. I'd like to welcome you to the virtual class of grade 9, unit 8. Today, we are going to deal with the writing activities. Dear students, we'll begin today's class with the revision of the previous class. Can you recall what we discussed in our previous class? Surely. We discussed about the use of transition words in our previous class. Now, can you recall those transition words that we discussed in our previous class? Just to recall them and also think about the use of those transition words. I think you are recalling them. Okay, students, just to look on the screen. What transition words we discussed in our previous class? We'll have a look once. See there on the screen, please. The first one is related to sequence and order. That means it is related to time. See, first, second, last, finally. These are some transition words that are used to show the sequence or order. Similarly, you see the next type of transition words. We also discussed about the transition words used for addition or to add more information, also, and, as well as, further, etc. These words are used to give additional information. Look at the next is illustration, such as, for example, like, etc. are related to illustration. And you know well, illustrations are generally used to give examples. For example, if you are giving the example of some animals, and you can say, for example, lion, tiger, etc. You can say that way. Look at the next type. Next type was cause and effect. So, thus, therefore, because, etc. are used to show cause and effect. Similarly, the next was comparison. Do you remember how we compared, how we used them to compare? I had given you the example also. So, see there, as if, similarly, in the same way, such transition words are used to compare. Look at the next, contrast. Contrast means showing the differences. Okay? Some transition words are also used to show the difference or to show the contrast. But, although, even if, however, such transition words are used to show the contrast. Look at the next type of transition words. These are emphasis. These words are used to give emphasis or focus on a particular information. For example, especially, certainly, mainly, in particular, such transition words are used to give emphasis. Look at next. Another type of transition word is giving direction and talking about place. That means they are used to give direction and to talk about location or place. There, here, opposite, to the left, in the distance, such transition words are used to give or to talk about direction and place. In this way, in our previous class, we had discussed different types of transition words. And dear students, as I have already told you in the past, these are not the only types of transition words. There are many. And as I have already told you, these transition words are used for different purposes, as we have already discussed. Some are used to give additional information, some are used to contrast, some are used to give emphasis, and so on. Okay, dear students, I expect now you have become familiar with these types of transition words and their use. Now, we proceed to the next activity, So I'd like to request you to turn a book on page number 100. We are going to deal the writing activity. Okay, dear students, I'd like to draw your attention towards the board here. There is a chart you can see. You can see this chart on a textbook also. You can look there too. So now our task is to write about memorable event. Memorable event means any event that occurred in our life which we cannot forget, which has given a kind of contribution in our life, which has changed our life. Okay, such event is known as memorable event. And here are some questions that you have to answer, that you have to make a list of answers, and later you have to develop them into a paragraph. So see there on the chart. Look at the first question. Where and when did it happen? That means the event. First recall one of the event. Okay, dear students, you recall one event that happened in your life, which has changed your life, or which has brought some changes in your life, or which is very important, you think, for you. So, see, where and when did it happen? First think about this. Recall the memorable event you are thinking of. When did it happen and where did it happen? For example, maybe when you were a small child, maybe when you were a school student studying in class 5, 6, or like that. Similarly, it might have happened in your school, in your village, or in some cities or towns. So think of the place also. Similarly, look at the next question. What happened? After thinking about the time and recalling the time and place, you recall the events. What happened? Okay, even in your memorable event, there can be series of events taking place there. So, what happened the first? And the first, what happened? Then you write what happened next. What was the next event that took place? Similarly, you think of the event that took place after that. Recall all the events from beginning to the end. What happened in the beginning and what happened at the end. Think of or recall all these events. Similarly, the next question is, what happened after the event? So, you recall, after this event happened, what next? Okay, what next happened due to these events? You recall that. And also recall your feeling. How did you feel at that time? Were you happy? Or were you sad? Or were you ashamed? How did you feel at that time? Recall the moment. Some events can be very happy. Some events can be very sad. So recall whatever it is. Now look at the next question. How did it change your life? So think of the changes that are brought in your life due to those events or due to the memorable event that you are recalling now. Did you learn something or did you change your habit due to that event? What happened? Think, recall, and write now. Till then, please have a look on the screen. The same chart is displayed here, but this time I'm going to tell you how should you deal with each and every question there. You also think about your memorable event and compare that with the one I'm going to present here. See, I have picked up one example for your help. So see the first question. The first question was, where and when did it happen? But I have divided it into two parts. See the first part, where did it happen? So you may write, for example, here I have written it happened in Elam. You can write the place, maybe your village, or maybe your school. Where did it happen? You write there. Look at the next question. When did it happen? Think and write, recall and write it. It happened when I was in grade 7. This is the example. This is one example. You can write, it happened when I was 10 years old. Or you can write, it happened when we went to watch a movie few years back. That way you can write. Now there is next question. What happened at the first? What happened after that? And what happened next? You keep on recalling. You keep on following me and making the notes there too. See, for example, I have written one event. What happened in the beginning? We went to Maghe Sankranti Mela. What happened after that? Some boys smoked cigarettes and compelled us to. You might think of other events. It's not necessary that you have to follow similar event. You can recall that happened in your life. So do not worry that, the event that happened in my life does not match with the one presented here. What can next be? Ravi, my friend, told about it to my parents. Then, what might have happened next? Can you guess? Okay, think it. And see there what happened next. My father told me about the harmful effects of smoking. Father tried to persuade, convince there to the son. He told me that smoking causes cancer and takes our life. So in this way, father tried to persuade, convince the son from the bad habits, giving up that bad habit. Look at next question. What happened after the event? Okay, you also think or recall the event that happened after those events you have already recalled and make a note there now. See what's written there on the screen. I promised my father that I would never touch cigarette. Okay, what's the next question? See, how did you feel? Now, you recall your feeling of that time and make a note there as it is done there. I was ashamed. Another is, I realized that I made a great mistake. Oh, sorry, see the spelling of great there. It must be G-R-E-A-T, great. Please correct it. And see, the next question there. How did it change your life? And see, there. Due to this incident, I kept myself away from some bad friends and cigarette. So this is the change brought in the life of the speaker here. Dear students, I'm pretty sure that you have also recalled all those events that happened in your life, the most memorable event there. Okay, now the next task is we have to put all these events into a paragraph. You have to organize them into a paragraph. Are you ready to do so? Okay. Dear students, while keeping those events into a paragraph or while developing a paragraph using those points that you have already recalled, you have to think of their order. You have to keep them in chronological order. And dear students, when we say chronological order, it's related to time, which happened earlier, which happened next, and after that, what happened. So it's the order of the events. You have to keep the events in order according to the time they took place. I think you got it. Now, you keep those points into a paragraph. Okay, dear students, I think you are following me. Here is a sample for you. You can follow this sample. It helps you to write or to develop the paragraph. Okay, students, see there, a memorable event in my life. See, once when I was 7 years old, my friends and I went to Maghe Sankranti Mela in my village in Ilam. Most of the members of our group were from our class, but there were 2 senior class students. First, the senior boys smoked cigarettes. Then they compelled us to do so. But Ravi, my friend, denied. He ran towards home and told the entire story to my parents. My father told me about the harmful effects of smoking. He also told me that smoking causes cancer and takes our life. I was ashamed. Later, I realized that I made a great mistake. Then, I promised my father that I would never touch cigarette. After this incident, I kept myself away from the bad friends and cigarette. See, the events that we discussed earlier in the last activity are kept together here and developed into a paragraph. And you see here, there is the use of transitional words. You can see once, you can see but, first, then, also, later, after. These are all transition words. They are highlighted there. So, while writing such events or while recalling the past events, the transition words, especially you can see the words used here are related to the sequence or order. They will be more helpful to make our readers feel easy to read the text. Dear students, now I'd like to make you think about some religious stories that you have heard. Have you heard any before? Certainly you might have heard so many. So, dear students, what can be the sources of such religious stories? For example, if you have heard any, what's the source of that religious story? Maybe your grandparents might have told you, but from what? Your grandparents might have taken those stories. Can you think for a while? Okay, think it. Okay, students, please look on the screen. I'll show you some sources of religious stories. See there on the screen. Can you guess what is the first picture related to? Okay. I'm pretty sure you can guess it. You can do it. This picture is related to the Hindu epic Mahabharata or Bhagavad Gita. Look at the next picture. I think you have already recalled what is the source here looking at this picture. See, this picture is related to Ramayana. I think you have heard a lot of stories from Ramayana about Ram, Lakshman, Ravan. You might have heard so many stories. I don't think I need to tell you about the third picture. Most of you are familiar with this picture. You can see Lord Buddha preaching the disciples there. So, this is another source of religious stories. Similarly, look at the next picture. See there, the people are reading Quran. So, this can be another source. You can see the picture of Bible there. It can also be the source of religious stories. Can you guess whose picture is this? Okay, guess it. Okay, he is the guru of Kirat religion, Mahaguru Phalgunanda. So, this can also be his stories, his past life can also be the source of religious stories. Dear students, while we are discussing about the sources of the religious stories, I'm pretty sure that many stories have come in your mind. But just take one that you think is more interesting and tell it to your friends. I'm going to present you a sample. Please see there. King Janak and a monk. Once a wandering monk visited the city of Mithila. He went to King Janak and asked him, "O king, how can you worldly man of pleasure be more spiritual?" Then the king said, "Dear one, you have come from a far place. You must have been tired. We can discuss further tomorrow." After this, the king took him to the royal dinner table and fed him variety of foods. He took him to a room and told him to rest there. There was a huge sword hung from the ceiling, hanging just above the bed. The monk was worried that the sword might fall on him and kill him. Due to fear, he couldn't close his eyes even if he was tired. Next morning, the king met him and asked, "Sir, how was the night? I hope you slept well." "How could I sleep? There was a huge sword hanging over my neck." Monk explained his troubles. Then the king said, "When one knows death is certain, how can the worldly duties ever limit his eyes from the supreme goal?" said the king. Finally, the monk got the answer. So this is one event from Hindu religion. It's related to Hinduism. Okay? So I think you have also told the story to your friend. Okay, dear students, now I'm going to make you recall one event that we discussed in our previous classes. Do you remember the traffic signs and symbols that we discussed in our previous class? Please think it. What symbols were used at that time and what meanings did they indicate? And now you also think of some symbols that you have seen which are used as traffic symbols or signs, and draw the pictures of them and then just write the meaning of those symbols just below the pictures. Do this task as your assignment and show it to your teacher in the class. Okay, dear students, I'm very hopeful that you would do this task and show it to the teacher. Now, dear students, we are moving to the next task. So, please turn a book to the section Fun Corner. Okay, dear students, what do you see in that section? Fun Corner. Now, you are not going to use this chart. Now, you do have another chart to be followed. You can see on the screen. See there, while writing an article what things should be considered. See there, you have to consider the topics to cover. For example, introduction, overview, detailed examples, conclusion drawn, wrap up. And there is, in your textbook, there is given industry analysis, but it shouldn't be there. So just industry analysis is there in the next column, so you don't need to worry about this here. Similarly, you also need to think of type of article, editorial, review, comparison, industry analysis, what is the type. Similarly, you can think about the audience, expert, consumers, other writers, students, or so on. Similarly, while writing the article, you have to concern some materials. For example, other articles on subjects, sample product, potential interview, information collected from respondents. So this can be the materials needed for you to write an article. So you think of these all ideas and you try to develop one article yourself. After you develop the article, you share it to your friends in the class, and also you ask your teacher to go through it and give you feedback. Now I am going to present you a sample of this here. See on the screen. So see, title, introduction, and overview. So these three things are presented here: title, introduction, and overview. So see, the dangers of the selfie is the title here. Similarly, you can see there, the first two paragraphs are mainly related to introduction, and the third one here gives you the overview of the whole writing or whole article, what you are going to deal within it. This part is very important because what will be the next part of your writing will be suggested by the first part presented here. Similarly, you can also see there another part, detailed examples. Means in the first, as I have already shown you here, in the introductory part or overview part, you will be dealing with what will be your next text or what will be your next writing. That will be suggested by this part. So now, in the second part, you have to support your introductory part or overview part with the detailed examples. You can also say body to it. So for example, you can see there are some examples related to the selfie or the title there. A North Carolina driver was killed when she crashed into a truck while posting a selfie of herself singing Pharrell Williams Happy. See there, this is one event. Okay. Similarly, you can see another. A Puerto Rican musician died while taking a selfie on a motorcycle. See. Similarly, it is one person was killed when he was struck by lightning while taking a selfie. So these are the examples which support your introductory part. Similarly, look at your next part, conclusion drawn and wrap up section. That means after you give details or you give examples or you complete the main body of your writing, then you have to conclude your writing. Look at these two paragraphs here. These two paragraphs are related to the conclusion. So this is a concluding paragraph. Here you can see this is a concluding paragraph. See, an estimated 1 million selfies are taken daily. So here the speaker does not give the examples here. See, an estimated 1 million selfies are taken daily. Time magazine has even ranked the top selfie spots in the world. Makati City and Pasig, the Philippines, at number 1, followed by Manhattan, Miami, and Orange County, Calif. Obviously, the vast majority of selfies aren't hazardous to health. until the ovation becomes too adventurous. This means this paragraph concludes your writing. But see now how the writer wraps up there. See, while the list of self-related accidents may seem stranger than fiction, the tragedy is that basic precautions to maintain life and limb were ignored in pursuit of a photo. See there? This is how the writer ends the writing. In this way, dear students, you also try writing one. And as I have already suggested you share it to your friends, or you can ask your teacher to go through it, or you can also paste it on the wall magazine of your school. You can do this. Okay, dear students, in today's lesson today, we learned to write about a memorable event that took place in our life. So dear students, I'm hopeful that you'll do it and show it to your teacher. Thank you students for your active participation. Namaste. Bye-bye.